All right, time being approximately 7 PM. We will call the April 24th, 2025 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals to order. Welcome, everyone. Meeting of the board. This meeting is being recorded. And is this virtual as well tonight, Hannah?
It will be, but it's not yet.
It will be, but it's not yet. Okay. First item on our agenda was the meeting minutes of February 27th and March 27th. Does anyone have any questions, comments, edits, corrections, deletions?
I have nothing. I'll make a motion to approve the February 27th and March 27th meeting minutes.
Before I get to that,
Okay.
you are an alternate, right?
I am.
Okay, so we need to
Vote. Oh, yeah, we need to vote to have you vote.
we need to vote to have you vote.
There we
So,
go.
I guess you can make the motion and I'll second it. right?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to have Linda be our third member today, voting member.
okay, and I'll vote that as well.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye, all right,
All right.
okay. Now,
I'm back to the meeting minutes.
So-
So I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 27th and March 27th.
So on February 27th, I was not a voting member. On March 27th, I was.
But you were, as long as you were here.
I
You
was
were-
here for both.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
good, and
Okay.
I wasn't here for the 27th, but I watched the video, so.
yeah, okay, all right, motion made and seconded. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? So moved. All right. Continued public hearings, 223 Maple Street, application for modification of 2024 site plan approval for 223 Maple Street. The applicant is proposing to add an addition on the existing building. Anyone here for that?
I think they look for continuing.
They submitted a continuance
They did.
for this meeting to the May meeting.
Okay. The applicant has requested a continuance. I'll accept the motion to continue.
To May, do we have to say the date?
At May 6th?
No.
I hope not. No, what am I saying, May 6th? Duh.
May 22nd.
May 22nd.
Make a motion to continue the hearing to May 22nd.
Second.
Seconded by Linda. Motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So moved. New public hearings. 38 Boston Street, application for site plan review for an accessory dwelling. And allow me to read the legal ad. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40A, Section 11, Mass General Laws, Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 24th at 7 PM at the Fuller Meadow School Media Center, 143 South Main Street, on the application from Kenneth Lowry for site plan approval. The applicant is proposing an attached accessory dwelling unit at 38 Boston Street, found on Middleton Assessor Map 24, Lot 4. Plans are on file at the Office of the Town Clerk, Memorial Hall, 48 South Main Street, Middleton, Mass., and the Zoning Board of Appeals Office, the DPW Building, 195 North Main Street, Middleton, Mass. Any person interested in wishing to be heard on the application should appear at this time and place designated.
We need to use that.
Okay. Is there anyone here for that? Tell us what you're doing. Come on up. Name and address, please.
I'm Kenneth Lowry, 38 Boston Street. I'm the applicant,
Okay?
and we're looking to put a accessory dwelling unit on for my wife and myself.
Okay.
It's getting a little crowded in the main house.
Who's in the main house?
My daughter and her husband and my 3 grandsons.
Okay, all right. We have plans.
We do.
For that. You want to just describe your project and what you're doing, and
It'll be
it's 804 square feet, I think, something like that.
816 square feet.
It's 16, it's 24 by 34 or something like that.
Yeah, it'll just
I did
be
the math.
It'll be a bedroom with a walk-in closet, a bathroom, washer dryer, and a living area.
Okay. Bill, questions?
Is there a kitchen? Yeah. Kitchenette? Okay, there's a kitchenette or something? Full kitchen? Yeah.
Yeah, there's a kitchen too.
I have no comments.
I wasn't sure if we were.
What's that?
I have no comments.
Okay, you okay with it?
I am okay with it.
Okay. Linda, any comments or questions?
Does that changes the number of bedrooms for
It's just
the
one bedroom.
larger home, but for both together, does it change the number of bedrooms?
Our unit will be separate from the main house.
Right, but are you all in the same septic system, and does the
Yeah,
septic
they
system?
proposed to expand the septic system. It was in there, in the application.
Okay, that's right, okay.
And the driveway and area can accommodate, I'm presuming you're parking there now, right?
Yeah.
Right. So,
We're allowed to add one parking spot requirement. So now with the existing house requires 2, and now they require 3.
3. And
Which they have more than that, I believe.
Yeah, we have a 2-car garage and.
Which is
then
2.
have you been out there,
there's
Scott?
parking out
What's
front
that?
here.
Have you been out there?
Well, the house is a relatively new build, what, 2 years?
4 years.
Wow, 4, okay. 4 years ago.
Interestingly enough, when I went to Google Maps to look at the location, the Google Map picture actually shows when the lot was being cleared.
Yeah, so,
Oh,
yeah, so it's a relatively new build, 4 years.
Okay. And do you have any questions on this or comments?
No, we've already reviewed the plans before they were submitted.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone from the public here that has any questions? Yes, sir. Name and address.
Fred Feldman, 27 Rowell Lane. We're abutters in the back, and it's just probably a moot question, but just because of the wetlands in the back there, and there's standing water, a little pond in the back, just through the chair, because of adding to the septic system, just during construction and post-construction, because of the water table, and there is a standing water pond behind there, and the walking trail sometimes floods. There's not going to be any, during construction or post-construction, drainage that's going to be coming.
No, nothing
into
should
that.
change.
No
No,
change in.
nothing should
in
change that
drainage
way.
into
No,
that
they're not allowed to de-water onto other properties.
Yeah.
No other questions. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
One note that did come up in the town's review was from public safety to just ensure that there's a clear pathway from the driveway to the door, like the front door of the ADU, in case of an emergency call, just to make sure that that's clearly marked for public safety
Yeah.
officials.
Okay. All right.
that actually brings up an interesting question that I haven't heard before. Does that change the number? The numbering of the units?
Usually it's doing like an
We're working on that between the assessor and the police and fire chiefs, because
So if it was 1 Maple Street, it'd be 1A Maple Street perhaps?
we're working on that. Everyone's gonna be a little different. This one is completely in the rear of the house, so it may make sense to have a rear number.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into other neighborhoods where they're side by side, where we may have room on the street to add numbers.
So this could be like 38 rear Boston Street.
Yeah,
in
because
this
I'm not
case.
sure what
Yep.
the numbers are, so the departments are working on the best solution. It's gonna be a case-by-case basis. This one will most likely be a rear.
Okay. All right. Unless there's any additional questions or comments, someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan for, what's the address?
38 Boston.
38 Boston.
Second?
Second. Motion made and second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. That's all we need with this, right?
That's it.
Yep, site plan approval.
Just site plan
Site plan
approval?
approval.
Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Insubstantial change request, 10 Boston Street, application for 40B insubstantial change request.
That's easy to say. That's easy to say.
No kidding.
Instance.
So we have the applicant virtually. You're up, Lars.
Okay, thank you. Lars Onion from Little Ridge Acquisitions.
Can you turn that up?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak briefly. I submitted the letter this morning. We're requesting to withdraw the insubstantial change application we filed. And I'm happy to talk to the details, but simply put, we were trying to simplify and consolidate the project plan just to help deal with the economic environment we're in. But we had done additional research on the site as recently as yesterday, which proved out that our plan was not going to be viable for our ultimate vision, which is to try to create a vibrant retail center next to the retail or the residential project. So after reviewing all the details with my team, our view was the best outcome was to just blaze the path forward with the project that we last spoke with you about in January. So I apologize for the distraction and the head fake here, but just sort of moving a little bit quickly and trying to address a bunch of variables at once.
Thank you. So, there's really no board action on this, it sounds like. You're just sticking with your original plan, is that right?
That's correct. So we're just requesting that there's, the board approve a withdrawal without prejudice, but there's no other action for the board to conduct.
Wow, this is going quick. I like it.
What's that?
I said this is going quick. I like it.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah, get in and out of here. Could have left my car running.
I know. Sure.
Okay, so with that information, does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept a withdrawal of the application for insubstantial change request for 10 Boston Street without prejudice.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any additional, well, do we have any comment from the public? I forgot to go
I don't
there.
understand what the change is, that's why.
There
There isn't any
He's
changes.
withdrawing his application for the change,
So the project is going ahead.
as was approved.
Okay, so which change is withdrawn? I don't understand.
He was proposing a change that he gave us in a packet that was essentially going to get rid of the single-family house as part of the project, but he's deciding to keep the project as it was.
So the White House is going to remain there, and
Nope,
No.
there's no change. So it's staying, he was going to make a change that was gonna shrink the overall lot, keep the old, eliminate the house that was gonna be part of the project. Now he's decided that he's gonna keep it as it was approved, and he's not asking for any changes from us.
so the
The project as you saw it
so the
before,
residential is going to
as you saw.
still be built,
Yep.
and all the commercial buildings are going to be built, the restaurants and all that. So
That's what we're being told.
yeah, okay.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Yeah.
So, motion made and seconded to allow the withdrawal without prejudice. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everyone, any opposed? So moved. Okay. Now, next one, we have development project update at 49 South Main Street, commercial development information update. Lars? Anything to
Thank you.
offer?
So again, in keeping with the withdrawal of the previous modification request, therefore, it obviates the need for the information session because it's, again, no change. The intent had been to explain what we were considering for changes for the retail, but with this withdrawal of the insubstantial change application, there's also no change to the retail component of the project.
Okay,
Okay, all right. There's
That's
nothing to vote on that, so.
there you go.
Correct.
All right, thank you for joining tonight, appreciate the
you.
updates, and looking forward to whatever's next,
Yeah, right.
right, whatever's next, so.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to join you virtually. Thank you.
Okay, Lars,
Have a
take
good
care,
night.
thank you.
Good night.
Okay, next item is a joint meeting with the planning board. Are they joining us?
Yes, so we did move much quicker than I anticipated. I didn't know about the withdrawals until today. So I gave them around 7:30. I am sending a text out right now. I think it may only be 2 members. And so I would say it's up to you if you want to keep
Well, I
rolling.
mean, it's
and
quarter-
I'll send
we
a
can- I
text,
think
or
we can wait
we
15
can
minutes.
take a break for a few minutes.
You want to
Yeah, we
recess
can
for
wait
15?
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And
not a
so, are
problem.
you doing a presentation for this? Is that the idea?
We have a consultant who's doing the presentation. Yeah.
So do we need to end this meeting and then start again? when they
Technically,
get
technically, it's still part of our meeting,
here? Oh, okay.
so.
I was just looking for a new record, that's all.
Looking for what?
A new record for brevity.
Oh.
Well, we had one 2 meetings ago, right? Yeah, it was like, we were done by 7:29.
It's me.
That was your first meeting?
No, yes, it's.
Well, don't get comfortable.
Well,
Don't
we're
get
happy to
comfortable
have-
with that.
We are happy to have you.
Just don't get comfortable with that. That's
Oh,
not,
I'm not.
Well, we had one, no, we had one that was, like, I want to say like 5 minutes once, right? We opened and closed a public hearing. That was,
I think
opened
Ian said it
and
was
continued.
12 minutes.
yeah.
So, all right.
So,
Make a motion to go, or are you just gonna go to recess? How does this work? Do we make a motion for it?
Yeah, we can, I'll move for a 15-minute recess. So moved.
So moved.
And seconded by you, okay, all right.
All in
Without
favor, aye?
objection, we'll recess for 15 minutes.
Great, thank you.
Okay, let us know when we're back.
Ted, can you hear us? I just restarted our meeting.
Okay, I think we're back on. Welcome back, everybody. We will resume our meeting. We are on item number 6. That is a joint meeting with the planning board. Welcome to planning board members tonight.
Thanks, Rick.
Anthony, why don't you introduce your team here? And I think do we have folks on virtually as well from the planning board?
No.
Oh, we don't, okay.
Just the two of us, so I'm Anthony DiGregorio, the chair of the planning board. We have Jason Bernard, the vice chair for the planning board.
Can you hear okay, Ted?
Okay.
Logan's back in.
I think that might be the audio.
All right.
I was.
Ultimate in technology
I was
here.
thinking that personally. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Well, I just,
All right, so this discussion tonight is a zoning review project. We have one of the consultants here to make a presentation. Also will give us, both the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board, an opportunity to ask some questions, talk about your project approach, your qualifications a little bit, what you expect to do if you are brought on board to do this project. So welcome.
Well, thank you. Kind of a rocky start with this connection, but I'm glad to be there and here. Can I share, I got some slides. Can I share them with you, or?
Sure. So just while we're doing that, just for the folks at home that may be watching this, this is a selection of a consultant, planning consultant services for a comprehensive zoning review and update of the town of Middleton zoning bylaws. So the town is going through a process of selecting a consultant to do that, which, as I mentioned, will be a comprehensive view of the zoning regulations in Middleton to hopefully be revised and then adopted at town meeting as we move forward to sort of keep pace with what's going on in our community and outside of our community. So, all right, it's Ted, correct?
It is, yes.
Ted,
Can
you're up.
you hear that? Can you see that all right?
Yep.
yeah, we got you.
Great, all right. Well, thanks for having me here. You know, I appreciate you giving me the time to talk to you a little bit about what I do and what I've been doing for several years. My name is Ted Brovitz. I am a longtime planner, and I've had different experiences. You know, everything from starting with a regional planning commission to being a town planner, a business improvement district director, both in Hyannis and in Fitchburg, and for the last 10 or 15 years, a consultant. And for the last 10 years itself, the last 10 years, I've been doing it, basically out of my home. So I'm getting smaller. My footprint's getting smaller as I get older, but I'm still very busy, and I do team up with a lot of different consultants that I've worked with in the past. And so, my experience is really focused on revitalizing commercial corridors, village centers, and old industrial parks. And this is an example of what I've done in recent years, and we'll say the last 10 years. And for the most part, all of the projects I've been working on, the zoning projects I've been working on, have been adopted. The most recent ones are a project in Burlington, in the Burlington Mall area. A lot of commercial there, a lot of second-rate office space. And what they're trying to do is revitalize it by allowing for some mixed use, bigger buildings, higher quality design, good, connections to open space. And so that was a 2 or 3 year process, and it was finally adopted this past February, almost unanimously. The other one I'm working on, and I'm just about finishing up, is on Cape Cod, and it's the Eastern Northern Village Center in Eastham, and that's going to town meeting this May. And again, put a lot of work into it. We got a lot of feedback from the public, and some pretty good visioning processes with property owners and the community, and ultimately put together a pretty comprehensive zoning package as well as design guidelines. So just some examples. We did some zoning for downtown Danvers and the square, and sort of a visioning process that translated into new zoning. And ultimately, they're starting to get new developments, the scale that they're looking for, particularly mixed use, new construction called Maple Square that was built in 2024. And they're very happy with that because they're trying to, provide that balance between commercial opportunities on the ground floor and residential on top. And, the residential in the upper floors, that provides not only an opportunity for people to live and work in the downtown area, but also in supporting the local businesses. So that's been a pretty successful project. Same thing in Situate, in the nearby the MBTA station. That's been converted into a mixed-use zoning district. And again, new investment in terms of new use, new people living, in the district, and really creating sort of a vibrant new village center outside of the harbor.
Ted, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I don't see your slides moving. If you're trying to move the slides forward, we're still seeing the first slide.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
I don't know why that is.
It may.
Stop sharing.
There's sometimes an option on Teams to allow share. I don't know.
You see that? You see the individual slides now?
Nope.
Nope, we don't see anything now.
We see you.
Well, let's see.
He should be able to share though, right?
Well, I think
Yeah.
he was before, right? In theory.
I'm not sure. I'll have to
Teams is a little
try
bit.
it again.
There you go.
Do you see that?
We have it up, yep.
Yeah, so we're seeing Situate.
Okay, is that moving forward?
Yep.
You see
Yep.
what's up?
Yeah, we got you now.
Oh, it's working now?
Yep.
Okay.
And actually,
Another example.
actually, Ted.
I'm sorry?
Ted, if you go up to the top bar where it says slideshow, and you go from the beginning, it'll fill the whole screen. Very top of the toolbar, at the very top. Does it say slideshow up at the top there? Somewhere?
Yeah.
If you go to slideshow and you hit beginning, nope, keep going all the way to the top of the screen there. Slideshow.
New slideshow?
Does it say slideshow at the top? One of those should
You
say,
trying for the full screen that you were saying?
yeah, one of those should say slideshow. Does that say slideshow at the top there, Anna?
Yeah,
Do you see that? Is that better?
No.
no, in the very top menu bar, file home, insert that line. About halfway in, it says slideshow, and I think that should open it so we can see it fully.
Do you see them at the top, Ted? You can see your.
No, I don't. Sorry.
So,
I'm going to have to start this.
no, you were okay. You were okay there. Go back to where you were. That was fine. We could see the slides.
Okay.
Yep, just share again.
Right here?
You broke it.
I guess.
Can you see it?
Nope.
No.
Go back to share, where it says share on your screen. Right at the very top, it should say share.
Yep,
Click on share,
yep.
and then you should be able to see your slides and click on your slides. Like when you hit share, it should give you a bunch, whatever else you have open, and you click on whatever you have open, and that's what you're sharing.
I hit the share and it says share, it says copy link, it says link to the slide.
You don't see a little, image in your screen that is actually your slideshow? Like a little tiny image of your screen when you hit share?
In the upper right side or the lower right side?
I don't know. It was working. It was
Yeah, it
working
was working
before.
fine. Should have kept my mouth shut.
So I go down, do you see that down?
Nope.
No.
Is the slideshow open on your screen?
It is.
Okay. I don't know how you did it before, but
Yeah, I don't know if you,
well, are the slides that you're showing pretty much what was in your proposal?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we have a copy of the proposal here.
Just give us the page number from the proposal.
Yeah, so we could just kind of follow along with your presentation.
Well, can I do my presentation? Can you see it?
No.
Just talk, but you can talk through it. We'll follow along.
you could, yeah, and I don't know, if this is more difficult, don't worry about it, but if you email it to me, I could also put it up. And
Okay.
I could share it on, and so that I think we could all see it. You would be able to see it, and we would be able to see it.
Okay, should we do that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't understand why it's not working, but,
Yeah, Teams I found that Teams is not the most
no.
user-friendly,
I rarely use it.
especially for slides. But if you send it over to me, I'll open it up.
Okay. Kind of a large file, so
The other option is you can attach it in the Teams chat.
should I make a PDF first, or, because it's pretty big?
Well, it should be okay as a PowerPoint, yeah.
Okay.
Linda, you jinxed us.
Now it's gonna be my fault.
I'm blaming Reg, he broke it.
What's that?
I'm blaming you.
You're blaming
Yeah,
me.
you broke him.
I know,
I
she
do
left it
have a
alone.
negative effect on electronic equipment.
I'll take responsibility.
Right.
Maybe if I left the room for a minute, it would.
I feel like we're working.
It has Lewis something something PDF. I'm not sure what that is.
All right, it looks like it came through, so I'm just gonna see if I can open it up.
There we go. All right.
Well done. Dun-dun-dun.
All right. Whoops.
All right. Ah, well done.
Okay. Can you see that as well, Ted?
I can see it, but it's pretty small. Can you blow it up?
Let's see. No, I don't think I can.
What are we trying to do?
Okay.
It's small on his end.
It's okay if it's small on your end. You know what it says. We need it big on our end so we can see it.
Okay.
All right, so,
We're back.
you want me to take us to, where we left off?
Situate?
Situate.
Yeah. Can you do like the full screen?
We have the full screen, so you're
With the
on.
windows on the side.
Yeah, I don't know how to change the view for you.
I think when you're full screen, we're half screen, and when you're full screen, we're half screen.
Yeah, so over on our end, it's just the slides full screen.
Oh,
I think it's a Teams thing where Teams doesn't allow you to present it the right way.
No, we got subtitles.
We do have subtitles.
But let's just talk through the slides because we have
okay.
questions for you.
So we're on Situate. Go for it.
You're on Situate? Because I'm not seeing Situate. I'm seeing the first slide.
We'll tell you which slide we're on. Go ahead.
All right.
Oh, okay, there we go.
All right, just leave it there.
So Situate, I think we already covered this, but basically this is a village center, a mixed-use development that was assembled over 3 or 4 years with zoning changes and some design standards. And it's now a very vibrant mixed-use district. A lot of people actually are downsizing from the community into this area, older people, selling off their 4-bedroom homes. And then a lot of younger couples are commuting actually into Boston from this district because it's so convenient for them. And there's also a lot of good bars and restaurants in this area. So it's become a very popular village district. Next slide. This is West Concord. This is one we worked on about 10 years ago. Another MBTA program or commuter rail TOD project. And again, this district, this community, West Concord, didn't have much going on in the last 10 or 15 minutes, but once they changed the zoning, it allowed for more mixed use to come in. There's been a lot of new investment, and a lot more people are living in the district itself, and it's a very vibrant district today too. Next. This is a project up in Portsmouth on Route 1. And again, this is an area of that's sort of south of the town, which is sort of got some continuous sort of strip development that they wanted to reinvest in, especially with new residential and mixed-use developments. And it took them about 2 years to get the zoning in place. But again, once it was in place, developers started to act on it and build a series of mixed-use developments along the corridor, reinvested in it, and it's worked very well. Next.
quick question before we go to the next one.
Sure.
As far as mixed use, tell me a little bit about the commercial aspect of it. I know that obviously residential above, commercial down below. What were the commercial components?
Right, so, and let's say Situate, for example, there's actually a requirement in the zoning that at ground level, that the space used for commercial. And that's a pretty common standard for when you're working in these village centers, because we don't want it to get, predominantly residential. We don't want them to take out these commercial opportunities at ground level. We want to preserve those for business development. So, even though that could be, a difficult, it could be a challenge anyways for some types of businesses, it is essential to keeping that vibrancy at ground level. So for example, in Situate, they've got a couple of different offices at ground level, and they've got a very popular restaurant there that's been doing very well. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to basically make it an attraction, not only for people that want to live there, but other people that are coming in from different areas, particularly in the summertime when there's a lot more people around the South Shore.
Thank you.
This is the East End project. I'm sorry. This is an area on Route 6 in Cape Cod, sort of mid-Cape area, an area that they've tried for years to try to get more investment, more business development, and for years they were reluctant to do any residential. Everything in town is pretty much a large single family, and so they concentrated their effort on this particular area where there's a little bit of commercial. And they did an overall vision plan, and we helped them do an overall vision plan and translate that into new zoning. And it's coming up for approval at town meeting in May, and it's probably got a very good chance that it's going to get adopted. It's been approved by the Cape Cod Commission. There's a lot of excitement about it, not only the property owners and the developers, but people that are looking for affordable housing in the Cape area, especially people that live there year round and are working regular jobs. So I think it's going to pass, and I think it's immediately going to be successful in terms of new investment and new mix of housing and commercial development. Next. So in a nutshell, the rezoning process, we look at, different segments of development. We look at the private realm, which is the buildings and the site improvements, everything from screening to adjacent properties to parking, lighting, signage. And the building itself is really important in terms of how it relates to the streets, the size and the scale, for given districts, and what do people really want to see, and and what we try to do is sort of match the community's vision with the zoning. And so whether you're doing, we've done a recent master plan like you have in Middleton, or you've done a specific strategic plan for a given district. There's good information that we can use and build off of in order to figure out what are the appropriate, scales of development and mix of development in given areas of the community. And again, when we take this effort in terms of, sort of a form-based approach, what we're doing is we're integrating not only the private side, the building development, but also, thinking about the street design standards and how they can, complement the development and also create better mobility. And along with that, good open spaces that are accessible to both the public and the private, as well as creating, activation along the sidewalks for different, for businesses. Activation could be outdoor dining and that sort of thing. So it's all these different sort of, pockets of of design and development that we're sort of merging together into a sort of a unified approach to, the town development, whether it's a corridor, whether it's a village center, whether it's an old industrial park. Having, this sort of this large scale approach really helps it, sort of over time become a, vibrant place again. Next. So the keys to successful zoning, context-based zoning, design standards that we just talked about. It has to be market-driven. We see we work with a lot of communities that are looking for, new types of development. Maybe they want, technology or lab space and that kind of stuff along like the 128 corridor. But the reality is they're not really going to get that. So you have to think about what are the realistic opportunities that are market-driven in your community, where the opportunities stand in terms of commercial and residential primarily. There may be opportunities for some, industrial, but mostly, for the most case, we found that we haven't found that to be the way it is. It has to be a place of necessity, meaning that local residents have to be able to have opportunities to work, have opportunities to go to restaurants and play and enjoy the community. You shouldn't have to go outside of the community to get these attributes. So that's an important thing that we think about when we put together the zoning. Multi-mobility is really important, or what we call complete streets, because we want people to get out of their cars when they have the opportunity and maybe walk districts, ride their bikes, and make connections between different districts, whether it's the town center and neighborhoods. It's really important to make those connections as much as you can through zoning. And of course, compatible edges is really important too. You've got different districts where there's potentially there's potential for conflicting uses. You have to take the steps necessary to make sure that they're compatible and they're buffered well enough that you don't run into problems. Next. So the public participation process, this is something if we're going to work together that we have to sort of hash out. Generally speaking, I was thinking that we would meet this, I'm assuming this is going to be a joint process between the ZBA and the planning board, but we would meet monthly and go over and sort of put together an agenda over the next year or so in terms of what are the biggest priorities that the boards want to see. Keep on pace in terms of getting the analysis done as well as getting draft zoning bylaws done, and integrating interviews with stakeholders, property owners, business owners, residents, so that we get some feedback from the community, and that'll help us shape overall the final products of the zoning. And I think that what we are planning on is at least 4 sessions with the public. One early on, one sort of midway, and then another one at probably 2 at the end, just to sort of make sure that people are comfortable with the changes and understand the types of changes to the zoning that we're making. And we like to back it up with development case studies. We have a huge library of recent developments of all kinds, and we think that's a pretty good way to get people to understand the difference in scales and types of developments that are likely to be built in the metro area. Next slide. So the first part of this process is doing an audit on the existing zoning. So if we start with the zoning map itself, we want to make sure that, again, as we said before, compatibility between the different districts is really important. There may be changes that you want to make to certain boundaries in certain districts. based on the opportunities or based on, concerns for environmental issues or, other types of uses that you don't think belong in certain areas, and the boundaries need to be reshaped. Next. The table of use, we find all kinds of interesting things in the table of use wherever we go. So for example, I was just working in Burlington and they had a lot of very old-fashioned uses. Things like the camera kiosk. So basically when you had your Kodak cameras and you brought them to the kiosk and dropped them off and came a week later, you pick up the film. But so there's a lot of things that that we want to go through and make sure we understand the terminology, make sure it's we're not missing any use terms, but also making sure that we connect the different uses to the performance standards, the special regulations further on in the zoning bylaw. It's really helpful to do that where you've got a good, well-defined table of use, and then you make good references to areas or different sections of the zoning bylaw where there's more regulations that are attached to given uses. Next. Dimensional standards, this is always interesting too. Once we get the information from your assessors and compare that to what's on the ground in the different zoning districts and the dimensional standards for the different districts, you always find interesting things. So for example, here's an example of a well-established neighborhood in a suburban community where 96% or 90% of the homes are non-conforming. The lots are non-conforming for various reasons. So it's those types of situations we want to make sure we catch and we make changes to them so that the dimensional standards are more reflective of not only what's there today on the ground, but also what you want to see in the future in given zoning districts. Next. We also find that, for example, parking takes up an enormous amount of your space. And if you take your dimensional standards for a given district and you translate that into a diagram, you find out pretty quickly what the issues are and how restricted you can be under given districts. And so it's really important that when you're putting together the dimensional standards, that you can illustrate it so that people can understand, where you can actually put your buildings, how much open space, you really need, and how do you distribute that around a given district or a different parcel, as well as the impervious surfaces. Next.
Ted, this is Anna, just jumping
Yeah.
in here. I'm kind of looking at our time, and I just want to be aware of time. So I know I want to leave a few minutes for questions from the board. So if you could kind of wrap us up in a few minutes, then that would be great. We'll have some questions and we'll go from there.
Okay. Parking regulations, obviously parking takes up most of the property's space, but we find out, if you go to the next slide, we find that almost every community we work with has the parking standards are too high, and they're not using the latest information from ITE or Urban Land Use Institute. And so it's really important that we scale that back to what's really appropriate, because not only is it unnecessary and it's wasted land, it's an opportunity for reinvestment in these given districts, particularly the commercial districts and the industrial districts. Oh, keep going. So at the end of the analysis, we'll put together a diagnostic report, looking at the opportunities, looking at the issues that need to be addressed in the zoning revisions, looking at the administrative review processes, and identifying what the priorities are. Once we go through this analysis, once again, identify what the real priorities are for zoning bylaw changes. That's, so we can get into the draft zoning bylaws, but if you're running out of time, I mean, you've got a copy of this and we can probably go over this later because this is a whole new series of slides, so. I can go through this unless anyone's got questions, we can just stop here.
Yeah, why don't we go to questions, Ted? So,
Okay.
I'll go to my esteemed colleague to my left, Mr. Renault. Any questions for?
I got a couple. So first, most of these project experience highlights that you gave us seem to be like kind of more of like a district, like a one district or an area or a corridor or something, rather than like a full townwide review. I mean, are these basically coming out of those townwide reviews? Is that what we're looking at here for the example projects?
Well, we have done full zoning bylaws, yes. But in these cases, what I've been showing you is really sort of districts.
Yeah.
And that could be mixed districts where it's residential neighborhoods, certain residential neighborhoods that are attached to industrial districts or commercial districts. Yes, we've done full zoning bylaws, but more often we find that the towns aren't looking to overhaul the whole bylaw, but just different parts of it. So for one project will work just on parking.
Yeah.
Other ones will work on other issues.
Yeah, I just don't think that's what we're here at. I mean, we haven't touched this thing in probably the better half of 50 years, right? Or something.
2008.
2008, but were there substantive changes though?
2008.
All right, so 2008 was the last time that we looked at this, but
There's a lot of flaws.
Yeah, a lot of flaws for sure that we've picked up along the way. But like what I'm seeing is really the outreach component to it and how that's gonna really work. Because I mean, 4 meetings to me seems awfully small, based on my small subset of work that I've done here in town on projects. I mean, I can tell you that I think 4 is very, 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 very low. And I would imagine that you'd be having like 3 or 4 for each section that you're looking to modify. And you'd at least be starting at the beginning with some type of, identifying areas where folks want to see some change, because a lot of folks probably don't. And, I just for it to be a successful project and to actually get something out of the project, I think that's an important piece. And to me, it just seems awfully light on the public outreach.
So I just want to tag on to what Bill was talking about. I had the same question, Bill. It seemed to be, instead of full-scale zoning review, it seemed just to be pockets in downtowns. And I think that, as Bill and the commissioner has mentioned, that, we really need a comprehensive look at, and I think those were the words of comprehensive zoning review, was actually the title of the RFQ. But I also want to talk about the public engagement piece just for a minute as well. Not even withstanding how many meetings, but how do we actually conduct these meetings? Ted, you said that you're just one person in your company. Is that it? Is it just you?
I work with a lot of other consultants. So, yeah, sometimes it's me alone, but also, even in this case, I would probably work with other consultants on given parts of the project.
Okay,
So, like, for example, I work with Dotson and Flinker a lot, David Gamble, other people that are sort of parallel to what I do. They're more sort of into the landscape architecture side of things and the architecture side of things. But also, that's part and parcel of the zoning as well.
So, because my thought is, and I want to go to the planning board chair in a second here, but my thought is if we have a public engagement meeting and there are 100 people there, are there plans out of there, little sticky tabs where people are putting stuff on plans to talk about things that are important to them? The public, in addition to doing the full-scale audit of this thing, the public engagement piece is going to be a key component to this effort. Right, and so I'm just concerned as to how you would be doing that. Any
Well, I would
thoughts?
probably bring on, another consultant to help out with any kind of like public workshop where we're doing sort of a visioning exercise or that sort of thing. I mean, the reality is it's a pretty limited budget to do all the things that you're looking to do. For example, I worked on a similar project in Pepperell, and we worked for 2 years on that project, and we never got to all the different elements of the bylaw they really wanted to get to. It wasn't really the public hearing process or the workshop process. It was just, we went through many iterations of different sections of the bylaw. You take the table of use, that in and of itself could take several meetings with the joint committee. So you have to be realistic about this. What we're trying to do is put together, a good solid draft. But honestly, you're probably not going to be able to take all of these different parts of the zoning bylaw, to town meeting over the next month or next year or so. It's going to take some time.
Anthony?
Yeah, I'm curious, I know you did work down the corridor in Danvers. I'm curious to some of the similarities that you'd be able to carry over from the Danvers study to Middleton, and also some of the significant differences that you would think you would see between Danvers and Middleton. And where would you, sorry, I know I'm throwing a lot at you here, but also what community would you liken Middleton to in the areas that you've worked previously?
I didn't hear that last part, but basically, Danvers has a pretty tight town center, district, mixed-use district, and well-established neighborhoods around it. But getting there off the highway, there's a pretty significant area of strip development that they're working on now. Our focus was on the town center and the neighborhoods around it, and the industrial segment that was on the top of downtown. But now their focus is on the corridor, the 130 corridor, and that has been not as difficult, not as easy to do because there's a lot of property owners there that are sort of entrenched in what they're doing, really not interested in making any changes. So unlike the downtown area, it's not done as well as it should have. But I mean, there's a similarity there in terms of you've got a really nice little village center, and you've got commercial coming up towards it. So that's what would be one of the similarities, I guess. And I think that it would be a different approach because I think your quality there is better than it is or was, at least in Danvers overall. There's some similarities.
Thank you. So the last question was, what community have you worked in previously that you would liken to Middleton or be most similar to Middleton?
I would say everyone's so different. Danvers would be somewhat similar. I think everyone's different. I really don't think that Danvers would be, similar, but I don't think there's a lot of differences for sure. Lexington maybe a little bit.
Would Pepperell?
Lexington's got a really nice town center. Same with Concord Center.
Eastham.
But getting into those areas can be a little bit, in terms of a little bit more strip development.
Well, you mentioned that Eastham's pretty much single-family residences, right? I mean, that's kind of what we are, aside from our 114 corridor and the 62 corridor, right? I mean, that's pretty much what we are.
Yeah.
Pepperell,
Yeah.
Would Pepperell be in that mix?
A little bit. The difference there is if you do have like strip development on 110 there, but you don't really have much going on in the village center at all. There's really not much left at all. It was, a Middletown, and the mill dominated the whole district. And so it doesn't have, the mix of commercial uses that you see in most downtowns, smaller downtowns. So I wouldn't say that there's a lot of consistency between Middleton and Danvers at all.
You're up.
I just have the one question of, if we're gonna do a zoning bylaw, we have a lot of mixed uses in town of kind of trying to figure out what would be the best option for us, not referencing to a separate town. Do this and do that and do that. Like, we'd have to have a big overlay of what we could do in our town to make it us, not, take a model from another town or another town or another town. It's gotta be definitely just for us.
Unique for us.
Absolutely.
Linda?
You spoke about opportunities and issues, and I know you haven't been in the weeds with us about any of that yet, but what are things that kind of pop to your mind at your first cursory glance?
I'm having a hard time hearing you. So, you say it again?
You spoke about opportunities and issues, and I'm wondering about your first sort of glance at Middleton from that kind of 20,000-foot view. What jumped out at you as opportunities and issues that you might come to us and say, these are things that I think you should address, or that would be a good place to start? What did you learn about Middleton that would be helpful in this process?
Well, I think the village center is attractive, and I think that's good. I mean, and I think that even though you've got some strip development, it's not bad. It's I think it can be enhanced, but I think it's pretty good actually overall. Seems like you have a lot of beautiful open spaces in and around the village and the corridor. So I think I really don't know until we sort of get into the issues and take a walk around, and you can point out some of the specific things that you're really interested in addressing in terms of zoning changes. I mean, when I'm going through a community, I have I don't really sort of make prejudgments. I'd like to find out what's going on with the locals and talk to them and see what what they see as being issues.
Commissioner?
I have two questions, because I'm kind of getting a little confused by some of your responses. Can you perform a comprehensive zoning review for the budget that was proposed in the response to the RFP, and can it be done in the timeline that was provided to bring this revised bylaw to town meeting next year?
Yes. The question is, well, I can do the audit. I can go through and evaluate and present that to the committee, and then we can from there go to putting together the actual individual zoning bylaws or sections of the bylaw. The thing that's going to take up the time is going through those draft amendments and vetting them out with the public and making modifications to them. So I think you're going to get to a point, whether it's me or some other consultant, that says, all right, we've done what we can. We're at the end of the budget. We've got this in pretty good shape, and you're going to have to carry it across the end zone. Because unless you pick something that's pretty straightforward, the likelihood is it's going to be a series of amendments that come over the next few years. And, depending on what the most controversial ones are going to be, will take the longest.
Was that both questions?
All of these projects we're working on are 2 and 3 years. I mean, Burlington has been 3 years and it's still going on.
So am I hearing that we need more budget?
Pepperell, even though we've done a lot of the draft bylaws, they're on the first step of getting those adopted.
So is our budget too low and our timeline too quick, in your view?
Well, again, it depends what you want to get accomplished. I mean, if you say that, if there's 10 sections of the zoning bylaw, and we think that 3 of them are high priority, maybe it's the use table, maybe it's dimensional standards, whatever, maybe it's the parking standards. If you took just those 3, those are typically the ones people are looking at as a first, step. That would probably take up most of the budget. Again, not just the, writing the bylaw, but just vetting it. Having the workshops, having the meetings with the committee, but honestly, if you do 2 or 3, maybe 4 sections and you're happy with it, that's a win.
So I have one other question too, because we keep going back to this public engagement process, right? And how do you navigate through that public engagement process? Because at some point, you use the term, getting it over the goal line. Getting it over the goal line is really getting it accepted at town meeting, where you're going to have opposing positions on all sorts of things. So in your experience and what you've been doing, how do you navigate through that public engagement process to get the ball over the goal line?
You talk to everybody you can as you're working through it. So the property owners, the business owners, those people, on different committees and different boards, you talk to them. You talk to other people that have particular gripes with certain parts of the zoning. You basically give as much face time as you can early on and let them know what you're doing and get their feedback early. And if it's a complicated, part of the bylaw you're working on, and you've got a lot of, resistance to it, you have to get on that early and keep on it so you get it going. I'll give you an example. Again, it took us 2 years just to talk to all the stakeholders in Burlington. And we honestly didn't even know when we got to town meeting whether it was going to pass at all, because, they were still, pretty vocal, folks that didn't want it to happen. We got to town meeting and it passed 90%. I just couldn't believe it. But that's the way it is. I mean, you just never know until you get to the town meeting whether or not you've done what you've done enough to get it across the finish line. So it's hard to tell with each individual community. Some are easier than others. Some have more faith in their staff and their boards than others. So it's really hard for me to say. But I can just tell you from having a lot of experience that, you have to touch base with the people that are likely to end up at town meeting and be, either positive or negative.
So,
You need to have a good understanding.
so I'm going to go to Anna in a minute, because I'm sure you might have a few questions, but I have one other, and that is, when you've done sort of comprehensive plans and it's gone to town meeting, have you sliced and diced and gone through each section individually for votes, or was it a comprehensive vote for the entire change?
Oh, you could never do an entire change for the zoning bylaw. You would be inundated with questions that would take town meeting, into 6 months. You're just going to have to take it. You'd want to do individual amendment. You can do more than one zoning amendment at a time, but you have to take them individually. You don't want to package them together unless you really have to. But it's you want to take them one at a time because they all have different issues.
Yeah.
Anna, questions?
Just one question from me, and I think we've kind of talked about a little, but I just want to ask it very specifically so it's clear. When we envision this project, recognizing the budget and the timeline that we have, really the focus was on bringing our bylaw up to where we are now, rather than looking at really progressive map changes or district boundaries or things that are a little bit more forward looking. But really trying to fix the issues that are in the current bylaw. And from that perspective, I think I didn't see a lot of examples tonight in your presentation. I felt like your proposal was much more responsive to that. But I wanted to check with you whether that's something that you're comfortable with, especially recognizing, obviously there would be support from the town, from myself, from other staff, but the audit would be a big portion of what we're looking for. And so I just wanted to make sure that that's clear for you. That turned into a comment, I guess, not a question. But I just wanted to make sure that's coming across clearly in the RFQ and then in our conversation tonight.
Anthony, anything else?
I'm good. Thank you.
Questions? All set?
Yeah, that came in clear. I understood that. I'm trying to present, in a remote way, which has been difficult. But, I've been just trying to sort of share my experience. So I'm glad you're asking the hard questions now because we have to get down to that anyways. But, when I've got just a limited amount of time with, a PowerPoint, I really want to make sure that people, understand that, all I can convey to you people is that I've got a lot of experience with all sections of the zoning bylaw. So, yes, so we need to get into the details, in the process of this. And it's, the audit really is going to be the sort of the part of it that's really going to sort of lead us in the right way, in terms of priorities, I think.
And I think the commissioner said it well, we have flaws right now. We need to at least get to a good baseline before we can start looking at anything else. Right?
Yeah, that's, what I've been saying for a long time here is, if the town wants to explore some major changes as far as 114, I know the North Main Street corridor, I think, is going to get a look. But we're talking basics. We don't have a parking spot size. We don't have drive aisle sizes in our bylaw. We have an allowed use in a certain district which has no dimensional controls because they were inadvertently left out in 2008. It's stuff
flawed.
like that. It's flawed.
Yeah.
You know,
And so,
So
to
if
your
that's, if
point,
that's what the intent is, then
Yes.
that's not really, yeah, okay. So
I
was getting
that's
a
how
different
I
vibe
understand
from
the intent, and then
the
if
first thing
it's,
is cleaning up what we got before we can even start to look at where we
Absolutely.
might want to go.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's a whole different dialogue then in that case. So I will take back most of my questions that I had.
Yeah. So, anything else from anyone?
No.
Okay. Ted, want to thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate that. Anna will be in touch with you. And we'll hopefully get this process moving. So, thanks for
Great.
joining.
Thanks for having me. Good discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Off?
Motion to adjourn?
So, should we have just a quick discussion? Yeah.
I think if we have a couple minutes, that would be useful.
Mr. Bill, comments?
I don't think the presentation was consistent with what we're gonna be doing, so unless I'm missing something.
Was there a reason he wasn't here?
I gave him the option of joining virtually.
Yeah.
That's a little on me because our setup is I'm not great with it. But yeah, I gave him that option.
But as a consultant, if you gave me the option,
Yeah.
my option would have been, I'll be here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anthony, comments?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it says comprehensive zoning review, and he should have said with the budget and the scope that you're looking at, I can't do a comprehensive zoning review. You've got to identify 5 or 6 or 7 or however many different areas of zoning that you want me to tackle, because I can't do a comprehensive zoning review in X amount of time with X amount of dollars with, sounds like subcontracting X amount of the work to whatever other consultants he's gonna bring on.
But see, I don't think he's gonna use any of those sub-consultants, because that's for like, he said as architects and like landscape architects, so that's like design guidelines and stuff like that, which he's not gonna even be doing with us. It's
Yeah, I
just
mean, I
gonna
don't
be.
even know if, I mean.
I mean, I'm not,
I just have
I
a
didn't
thing
follow that
of-
presentation for what we're doing here.
His presentation, that was great, but it was kind of like more of like, okay, we're gonna zone, this area for business and this one for this and that, and we're trying to look for somebody that can, excuse me, go over 2008 and say, hey, yes, no, yeah, you don't have this set up, you don't have that set up right, you don't have this set up right, you don't have that set up right.
Yeah, you were
And-
right
and
on,
He's
Scott.
more like
I
trying to
mean,
go
and we
at
may-
different districts
Yeah, and we may want that at some point.
at some point, but right
I
now,
think we
we're just
gotta
looking
get,
to.
Gotta get to the baseline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
We
if that
gotta,
wasn't-
we gotta get to the goal line, and then we can punt it over.
maybe mixed use is something the town and the residents want to look at, but, let's get some parking spot sizes, let's get some drive aisle sizes.
That's the other thing is people, that's the other thing
But he
too,
didn't
is
present that
if
to
all of a
us.
sudden we come to, he does this, review, and all of a sudden we come to all this, and we take it to town meeting, everybody's going,
What?
what are you talking about?
You're right.
What's this?
I mean, his-
What's that?
his
Why
response on the
wasn't this
paper was
done?
a lot better
Why
than
is it
his.
taking so long to do this? Why has this been there? Why hasn't it been done in the past? We gotta get from 2008 to 2025, all right, and then go further.
But I like,
Fix everything that we have.
I like Anthony's point, though. It's like, well, here's the budget, here's what we can do.
But I want to say, he came in significantly under the budget too, didn't he? Was he the,
He was on the lower side, but that was the budget I was working with. Yeah, somewhere over.
So, I mean, my
Which
concern
is what? Which is
that
what?
He's,
65.
65?
my concern is a one-person show. I had that, we talked about this when the committee met. The fact that he's been doing stuff in other communities, and so how many other projects is he gonna have going on while he has ours going on, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't care about his other clients. As far as I'm concerned, Middleton is his most important client, right?
Absolutely.
And so, my concern is that he can actually do this, and it's likely we could have 100 people at the school having a discussion at one of these meetings.
Especially with all the attention zoning has gotten with MBTA and stuff like that,
Exactly.
and all the
You're
way
gonna
it's
have-
gotten blown up, people are
Yeah.
gonna show up when they say, there's a comprehensive zoning review, I gotta be there, I gotta
So-
find out what it's about.
And I'll tell you, so, I have a lot of major road reconstruction projects, and a lot of people show up, and we'll have 10 people from my office there at tables, and people can go to a different table, and there's sticky tabs, and you can, that's how this.
But we're not doing that, though. Like, we're not going and looking to make any changes to the zones.
well,
We're just looking
it's
to.
a comprehensive review, so it could be changes to the zone, but I think as part of the review process, before you even get to that, you got to get through the housekeeping stuff.
Standards,
You know,
the general standards.
There's a section in our,
General standard, exactly.
there's a
Those first
section,
meetings are educational programs.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I
that-
mean,
that's what I was
there's
trying
a
to get
section in our
across.
zoning that expired, I want to say 15 years ago, that we haven't been successful with getting it removed.
Yeah.
I mean, there's housekeeping that needs to be done before we decide if we want mixed use or, if they want to change, dimensional controls for stuff, if they want to, whatever the voting townspeople want, really. I mean, it's
But even
it's
at
open
that,
town meeting, that's
even
who's going to
forget even
decide.
road with setbacks. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's stuff like that, I mean, that hasn't been updated since 2008. And you got some people that I know, I mean, that we have a paper road that's still on, that's right next to my house, that the guy put a well right in the middle of dug a well right in the middle of the road. But if you look on the map, it's a road, but he dug a well in the middle of the damn road. It's like, they
Linda?
don't have the restrictions.
What puzzles me is how he can establish a budget and a timeline without having an understanding of the scope of the problem. This is not my area, but I've written a lot of RFRs in my life, and you gotta know the scope of the problem.
If you read his written response, you would have thought he understood it. I don't know if you, when we reviewed the proposals,
It's almost
I'm
like,
shocked by the presentation compared to the,
Me too.
it's almost like the
and-
presentation was like, hey, this is to prove to you that I know what I'm doing, even though it has nothing to do with what you're asking.
I don't, yeah, he's not the guy. That's,
Yeah, that's exactly.
It's gonna turn out like the last one, where it was supposed to be a comprehensive
Yeah, and it turned.
review, and it turned into a couple of people's personal agenda.
So maybe you look to what if you put it back out and then ask for like a work plan? I do that a lot for stuff where I'm like, I might not know exactly what I can get out of the budget, so I'll have them provide me a work plan of how they would do this. And he could tell what he could fit, because he said to us, basically, I can do three things. If I did what did he say, the parking, the setbacks, and something else,
He
I'd
talked
be
in circles,
out of
because he
budget.
also said he could do the
I'm like, well,
Right.
it can't be
That was
it can't be
specific.
That was the
comprehensive.
biggest thing I said too. I'm like,
At
he
65, you
just
can't do
talks himself in a
that
circle.
anyway. I mean, that's about $200,000 project, so
Maybe,
realistically.
right? But-
Yeah, no, just in my experience, it's well over 100 and something, probably 150.
I just
I've done
don't
one
think
for.
he got the scope of what we were actually looking for. I think he was just trying to come in and just do
I
a
know
basic
everything, yeah.
overlay and go, we're gonna do this, 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 and this, and we're gonna work on only three things. We don't need to work on three things. We need to, I'm gonna reiterate myself again.
Yeah.
We need to get up to what the standard is, and then we can go forward.
And selfishly, as a ZBA member, the less ambiguities we can have in these bylaws
Oh, big time.
Absolutely.
is better for us, because a lot of times we're like you said, we're looking at stuff like, huh?
Yep.
Right? And so,
Like the parking is a big one. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
disaster.
yeah, so, and I'm presuming it's the same for planning board. I mean,
It
it's
is.
no
We had one
different.
come in this year, it was like, well, we need, X amount of trees in this length of roadway, and it's supposed to be 9 feet apart, but can we have one tree 4 feet apart? Can we have one tree, can we put all the trees here, make it dense, and then not have any trees on this
Is
side?
that on
So it's like,
114?
No, it was,
I recall something coming before us on
it was up
tree.
on River Street, off of River Street. that one.
But again, it's
Because
like,
they had certain, wet water marsh areas that they
It was,
couldn't.
it was off of, it
Yeah,
was
Bridge-
the Kucha Way.
and those ambiguities force us sometimes to be arbitrary. And we can't be arbitrary, and that's.
Because someone's gonna take
What's
whatever
that?
you decide and take advantage of it down the road at some point.
Scott talking about parking spaces. Davis is PBD's going through it right now with Century House. They just went through an audit, and their parking spaces are too small, because they just relined the parking spaces, and you can barely get a small SUV in there.
They gotta
So
get
they're
those
making
other
it
three
wider.
ones in there, so they make everything too tiny.
So
It's a
that's
good
the
trick.
whole thing. So you have the same thing. It's like, all right, well, you gotta have a zoning. You can't just all of a sudden just pave over your parking lot and then put down whatever line you want. You have to have a permit for it. and do
Which is
it.
what happens in town here. We have,
Absolutely.
the only use that I'd say in town that probably doesn't have a good parking requirement is restaurants.
Yep.
Anyone who's tried to park at some of the more popular restaurants in town knows, but they're all compliant to the bylaw.
Yep.
And it's not enough. And then there's other uses that require way too much parking.
So,
So I'm thinking.
what's your pleasure?
I'm thinking consider going back out.
Yeah, I think
That's
we
what
need
I'm
to go back
thinking.
out
And
for-
define it more than just the broad comprehensive. Say, listen, we're looking for you to essentially do housekeeping and kind of repair type stuff.
Would you all be open to hearing from another of the respondents that we got a proposal from before we go back out? And the main reason is because we're on a little bit of a budget timeline.
So
We have less of a budget the further we.
My 2 cents on this, I mean, VHB scored lowest, but I know they have, as you do, they have a lot of horses.
You do.
And so, in this case, Ted presented a good written proposal, but not so much here. Maybe VHB didn't prepare a good written proposal, but they could come in and blow us away.
Yeah.
Better the devil you know than when you don't, right? And we have their proposal. I would say if they come in and did a similar performance, then we say, you know what, regardless of budget or time or anything else, because we got to get this right.
Yeah.
We got to go back out. Would that make sense?
Yeah. And the other thing too is, I mean, like, going on the chairman's thing, I don't like presentations over screen. Come to me, I want to look at you in the face and
Yeah.
see that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I would have been-
If you really want
I
that,
would have
if
been
you really
here.
want the presentation, be here. You can use the TV, but I want to see your physical response when I want to see you in the face when I'm talking to you.
Well, if we think that there's a budget issue, can we maybe ask them to come in with some plan on what they're gonna actually do, as opposed to whatever that today's presentation was? Which isn't really things he's gonna do.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
he
and-
basically said he could do 3 things for $65,000, and that isn't really everything we need, right? So can somebody
Well-
else do it for 65?
What,
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
What company listed out the comprehensive reviews they had done, but gave us no examples? Was that VHB?
Yeah.
Yeah. They just had bullets, like almost bullets, right? It was a cut and paste. There was no question.
Yeah, but they had done a significant amount,
Yes.
supposedly, of comprehensive reviews. It's just,
They didn't show a lot of examples on it, like.
all the
exact-
examples they gave were more stuff that this
More
guy was
stuff, yeah,
talking about today, where this guy's written proposal looked like he was doing a comprehensive review, so, I mean, to your point, even though their written proposal lacked a lot, they probably have the experience to do what needs to be done.
Not only that, but both Bill and I know people there, like, just in terms of like, you
Yeah,
know,
they have
like
a
I said
couple of
before,
those.
we don't care about your other clients, we're the most important client, right? So, all right, so do we want to try and do that then?
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe, when's your next meeting?
Second week, are we off next month?
We're off next month.
We're off next month.
Okay,
We're
so,
off next May.
do we have time, do we want to call a,
Special.
I mean, we don't, this doesn't have to be at one of our meetings, we could just call a,
Correct.
Just a regular
Yeah.
special.
just get together with.
We could just do
for
a
Why don't we
meeting.
advertise?
Why don't we do it? Why don't we
All
do
right.
that?
I can
All
look
right?
for a good
Just get
date
some
for
dates
us.
from them?
Yep.
All right?
The only thing
looking-
is
looking at your
mid-May,
RFQ, it's-
I'm gone from the 16th to the 27th. I'm on vacation.
Vacation?
Yep.
Dare you?
What's that?
Who said that was okay?
Maybe I will see
Myself,
if we
I've
could.
been doing it every year for 10 years.
Ah, okay.
Same week.
How about Thursday, the 8th? Does that work for everybody?
What week's town meeting?
May?
Or when's town meeting? What's the date of town meeting? That's the
Next
11th.
week.
Is it the
Is that
11th?
Following week?
Yeah,
It's the 13th.
it's the 13th.
13th.
8th, I have Fuller Meadow School Parental Information Night for kindergarten. So I'll be here
you're here
anyway.
anyways.
Yeah, I'll be here anyway for 6. That sounds great. Good call.
Do we want
We
to,
probably won't get the room.
I was gonna say,
Can we even get the room? Probably?
yeah, I'll check. Could I check Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that week?
so
6th, 7th, 8th?
Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, I have the innovation conference at Mass DOT.
Okay.
So, but 14, I could do
14,
8,
15.
I could do pretty much anything the following week, notwithstanding town meeting.
Well, 8's the voters' night, for people that might want to do that for town. Right?
But the
Isn't it
Oh,
candidate-
what's that, the League of Women,
League of Women Voters
voters,
Night.
That's on the 8th?
candidate night?
That's on the 8th, yeah.
Okay, do we want to try for the 14th?
That's here, right?
I think it's here, yeah,
Yeah, they're having it here this year.
Yeah.
so it won't work.
Is next
14th,
week,
I'm not
is next
available,
week
but-
Wednesday, the 30th? Does that work for anybody?
I am gone.
Okay,
29th to the 4th.
29th to the 4th. You look like you already have a tan. Where
I
you
got the
been?
14th and
Florida.
the 15th.
There you go.
Should I send a
I have a
poll?
tan, it's high blood pressure.
What's that?
Should I send a poll? And we'll see.
Poll. Yeah, poll's
A
good.
meeting poll?
Poll's good.
Yeah.
Right now I'm looking at the 14th, maybe, or the 12th.
14th's no good for me. What about 15th? Do we say
The
15th?
14th and the 15th are both good for me.
Yeah.
14th and 15th?
I can do the 15th.
15th?
I could do the 15th.
15th?
Right before I go on
Alright.
vacation. Yeah,
Ditto.
That'll
15th.
follow me up for vacation.
That good? Everybody
Yep.
work?
Yep,
All
I
right,
did.
and we can meet, we can meet at town, we don't have to come here, so we can meet anywhere. Somebody's garage.
Just make sure it's posted.
Don't even my garage. You guys be in the kegerator.
All right.
Sounds
That's
like a
it.
good spot.
So with
Jason's
that,
house.
back to our agenda, item number 7. Is there anything else, Anna, anything you need to bring up
No.
at this time?
So could I just ask it before the 15th, can I get the actual, is it an RFQ or an RFR? I've heard
It's,
both.
it's in the folder.
Is it?
I'm reading it right now, honestly, and it didn't really talk about making modifications to the zones, like to change the type and to do all that. It's pretty clear that what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah.
And his presentation had nothing to do really at
But
all
his
with.
written proposal
Actually said
was
that.
more in
That was my
line with
first
that.
text, as I'm reading right here, it says comprehensive review.
No, but it's like, it says what the project it's a zoning audit, essentially.
Yeah. And this is
Outreach
what-
and then the rewrite to
What
change
folder
stuff.
did you find it?
And this is what happened last time. They hired
I've gone to sleep here.
it was
so-
supposed to be a comprehensive zoning audit last time.
Right.
They hired the consultant, and the consultant and a previous staff member went on a,
Zoning
Tangent.
review project.
Yep, I remember
And it's
that.
called RFQ zoning
turned into a
bylaw
very
review.
narrow
Very
And
just
is that in the
small.
Google
It wasn't
Docs?
anything.
Yeah,
It
it's
wasn't
in
like
the
a
Google.
I mean, I
scope
think
thing.
you
It was
wrote
just
it to
one-
get what you're looking
it was
for.
one section.
I didn't write it, but.
Well, whoever
yeah.
wrote it, this, what we just talked about, you're
Must have been Anna,
definitely.
right?
It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
big, yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
wrote this for the deliverable that Scott was talking
Yeah.
about, so.
Which in fairness is what his written proposal also
Oh, yeah.
responded to, and it was just the presentation tonight that felt
like-
to me.
So what if we bring in the other, why
completely
don't we
off.
just bring in both of the
Yeah.
other two? And have them make a
Yeah,
presentation?
Same
If
night,
we're gonna convene, yeah.
Just
Why
makes sense,
not?
right?
In person,
way everyone's-
someone's on at, do you want to try and start at 6?
Yeah.
That work? We'll start at 6.
Okay.
First one's on at 6, second one's on at
the 15th.
6:30?
7:30.
It's good, 7:30.
Ooh,
6,
7.
7.
So on the 13th,
They have
15th.
20 minutes for a presentation, 20
we're
minutes
gonna meet,
Q&A,
yeah, we're gonna do it,
and then we can chit-chat afterwards.
Yeah, and I'll bring them in person.
We're all excited.
All right, let's do that. So it's the 15th at 6 PM.
Yep.
Okay? With that,
15th at 6.
want to thank the planning board members for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome anytime. And with that, I think Linda made a motion to adjourn, and I think you seconded it,
I
did you not?
totally seconded it.
All right, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.